Hey, what is up, guys? Bluntguts here. This is a Watcher of Realms video. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I really appreciate it. I hope that you are going to enjoy this video. I've got Sun Wukong up on the screen right now, and you know, he is he's controversial. Amazing hero. Mine is A3 now. I got him to A1 from pulls. Put a couple of unpolished soul stones into him, and he is a beast right now. I've got him up around, let's see, what are his stats looking like? Let me just show off my Sun Wukong. 28,615 attack, 310% crit damage, 367 attack speed. He is just beautiful. Beat my high score on Guild Boss 2 last night on the first attempt that I did with him, so real excited to see how far I can push that. But what was controversial about him is his pull rate. You know, I think that I, along with many others, did feel as though, despite hitting a lot of legendaries on his banner, not very many of them were actually Sun Wukong. Made me and many others question, is he really on a 15x? The rate screwed up in some way. I made a video a couple of days ago asking all of you to send me screenshots of your last 300 summons on this banner so that I could compile that data and try to get an estimate as to what the pull rate was for him. The percentage chance that you would get Sun Wukong if you did pull a legendary on his banner. So first off, let me just say thank you so much to everybody that did reach out to me. I ended up with a data set from viewers of almost 25,000 summons, which was incredible. Awesome amount of summons to kind of work with. I did make sure that I had visual evidence of all of them. So in most cases, that meant that people took screenshots of their summoning record as far back as they could go on the Sun Wukong banner. Some folks took videos of their summons and they did send those to me as well. So that was great. So I did have some people submit larger samples than just the last 300 summons that they did, which is great as well. What I tried to do was establish a valid data set that would give us an accurate picture of what his rates were. And I think that, you know, maybe sample size could have been larger. That might have been better, but I think this gives us an approximation. I'm not saying this is definitive by any means, but I think this is going to give us kind of a ballpark figure. But there were a couple concerns that were raised in the comments of that video that I did mention. People were concerned that the viewers that did respond to me would primarily be made up of people that were upset over their pull rates. Now, I'm happy to say that anecdotally that was not true. I did have a lot of viewers reach out to me that did have excellent rates, and you know, makes me a little bit jealous, I'm not gonna lie, but there were some folks that pulled a lot of Sun Wukongs on this banner and a very small amount of summons. It's just, it's nutty that there could be such a difference on this, but I think, you know, when you're talking about RNG, that is kind of what can happen. So it can be very deceptive. It's why I wanted to go through this exercise to try to establish a true rate for him. Now, to kind of offset that concern, the other thing that I did do was I went through 12 different content creator videos, including my own, where the summons were actually filmed. I recorded all the results there. There are 12,500 summons that come from that data set. And the idea behind that was this was supposed to be kind of my control group. This was supposed to be something that would be representative, not of any kind of bias from people who watched the video and decided whether they had pulled really well and gotten a lot of Sun Wukongs, or whether they'd had really terrible luck. Either way, I wanted to make sure that there was no bias that came through. So I went through all of the content creator videos that I could find. Not everything was posted. I'm sure I did miss some as well. You know, I spent as much time as I could. I came away with 12,500 content creator summons, and that was my content creator data set, was my control data set essentially. And what I've done here in the data is broken the data set into two different groups, and then I provide a cumulative total between the two as well. So we're going to look at those first at the viewer summons, then at the content creator summons, and then we'll look at the combination of the two. All right, so above me right now is the viewer data submission. In total, we had 24,760 viewer summons that were captured visually and sent to me. Super appreciative of all you guys. Just incredible in my mind. In those 24,760 summons, 209 were legendary pulls. That is a legendary hit rate of 0.84%, which translates to a pull rate of one legendary every 119 summons, which honestly, pretty on point. However, not a huge departure from what our expectations should have been. So, you know, that is kind of on point. That does fall in line with what you'd expect from a probability perspective. So that is kind of on point. Now, I did not include any of the guaranteed, as in Wukongs that were pulled on the 200th summon. I did not include those in this data set, so I parsed those out. After that, we were left with 43 Wukong pulls out of the 209 legendaries that were pulled. That is a hit rate of 20.57% on Wukongs, which, I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody really knows what the rate was, right? At 15x rate up on what rate? We're not really sure. A lot of folks had floated an approximate 20% pull rate on there. Those who did, you were right on the money as far as what I've seen here, 20.57% based on the viewer submissions. So at least as far as the viewers were concerned, 20% was a very, very good approximation of what the pull rate was. If we were to divide that by 15, that would be a 1.37% base pull rate. Now, I don't know how the math functions exactly on this. I know that I think generally we all understand this to be if you had a pool of, let's say, 100 different legendaries and you were going to do a 15x rate up, you would add another 14 Wukongs onto it, I suppose. That would be how you would do it. So the pool would become 114, but 15 of those 100 would be Wukongs. So I don't know. I haven't gone too in-depth into how to decipher that. That doesn't really jive with me. Maybe they normalized the rates. I really don't know, and I'm not going to speculate on that. But essentially, this 1.37% is relatively in line with what we've seen in the past as far as the rare bucket legendaries. So maybe that's accurate, maybe it isn't. I just threw it up there as a point of reference, really. Let's go take a look at the CC summons. Now, this is where it gets interesting because the content creators had a vastly different experience versus what the player base did, at least the player base that submitted screenshots to me. Going through the 12 different content creator summons, there were a total of 12,750 summons in there. 93 legendaries were pulled in that time. That is a legendary hit rate of 0.73%. If we were to convert that to a legendary frequency, that would be one legendary every 136 pulls. So pretty significantly worse than what we saw on the viewer data. Just kind of two sides of the RNG coin, I think, at the end of the day. Nothing really to write home about. However, this is where it gets kind of interesting. There were only 11 non-guaranteed Wukongs that I found in those videos. That is atrocious. Slightly less than a 12% hit rate on Wukongs, 0.79% base rate. If you go by these numbers, it's about 60% of the rate of the viewers, and it's just atrocious. Really, really rough. I suppose that RNG is RNG, and RNG is gonna RNG. So, sucks to be a CC. So much for that content creator luck that everybody seems to think we have. This was god awful, and I certainly felt it. Let's take a look at the combination of these two data sets, and let's see what that kind of reveals for us. All right, so when we combine the two data sets, we've got this total row all the way at the bottom here. In total, my data set included 37,510 summons. There were 302 legendaries that were pulled across those 37,500 summons. Legendary hit rate was 0.81%, which if you were to look at legendary frequency, that would mean that you would be expecting to get a legendary once every 123 summons. As far as non-guaranteed Wukongs, in total, there were 54 that were pulled, 17.88% hit rate on legendaries. So that means that slightly less than 18% of the legendaries pulled were Wukongs. If we were, again, going to apply that simple, inaccurate, just divide by 15 base rate math that I have in the far right column here, that means that there is a 1.19% base rate for Wukong. Now, is that accurate? I don't know. I don't know what their game file says, and that is part of the problem. Let's go talk about it. So look, guys, at the end of the day, I think this is a problem of setting expectations. Pure and simple. Moonton needs to release the rates for these pulls, for pulls like this, for Ancient Summon, for everything. We need to know what the pull rate is for these different legendaries. When you say that something is a 15x rate up, it is purely a marketing tactic. If you are not going to give us the base rate, it is frustrating. People spend a lot of money on this game. People put a lot of faith in this game. If you're going to spend money on this, you don't want to feel like you've been shortchanged or hoodwinked or scammed in some way, that the rates are rigged. A lot of people talk about that. I'm not saying that they are. I'm not saying that they are. In fact, based on my data, it seems like the pull rate, even when you consider the really horrendous content creator rates, that the pull rates are actually close to what a lot of us thought that they should be. But when they don't tell us that, it puts us in a spot where if you don't get the success that you were expecting or that you were hoping for, that you can potentially feel as though you have been bamboozled. I'm just going to try to find as many words as possible as I can to describe when a business tells you one thing and you feel like you've been cheated. Because that's really what it is at the end of the day. You feel like you spent money on something and you didn't get what you paid for. This game and all games like this are all based on RNG, but there is nothing wrong with being transparent with your community, especially when we're looking at a hero pool like this that is forever growing, that is bigger now than it was certainly at the beginning of the game when they were doing 10x rate ups, certainly significantly bigger now than it was when they changed to a 15x rate up. This is a problem. Every new hero that you add to the pool diminishes the value of the 15x rate up or any multiplier that you want to apply to it. If you go to a 20x rate up, that is eventually going to be outpaced, assuming they continue to add heroes to the game. So this is a big problem in my mind. And if you're going to continue to structure banners like this, you need to give us the base rates for these legendaries. And I understand that there are more common heroes, there are less common heroes. I understand that they don't want to reveal that. But it makes everybody wonder if you're not twisting knobs, turning dials, moving sliders, and making it less likely to pull legendaries when you think there is big investment in the game. And that is a problem if you want people to spend, because they need to be confident that they are not being cheated at the end of the day, that the rates are not rigged. So my proposal is twofold. One, you need to tell us the rates. And I am going to put out a call, not just to all the other content creators, although I think that everybody should. Everybody who watches my stuff, I would appreciate it if in some way in the next week or so, you all do, doesn't even have to be a solo video, but you will say something in one of your videos about the rates. And I think we all need to make an effort to continue saying something about rate transparency until that does get implemented into the game. We need a standard to hold Moonton to, because it's impossible for me to say these rates were rigged. I don't think they were, based on the rates, or based on the data that I put together, by the way. But even if I did think that they were rigged, it's impossible for me to say that when they didn't give us enough information to determine whether or not they were. Like, if I had done this and I'd come back with a 5% hit rate on Wukong, that wouldn't have told us anything, because they would have just said, well, we didn't tell you what the base rate was, so it really was 15x. We're in the dark right now. Like, we are in the dark on the rates, and that, I think, cannot continue if you want to regain trust in the player base, especially after everything that has gone on with summoning in the past year. There have been a lot of missteps recently, and I think that despite the fact that I really do appreciate Moonton in a lot of ways, they are one of the most generous gacha companies out there by far. They really listen to their player base, so I'm hoping that they listen on this. We need to see the rates. Why don't you want to tell us? That's the problem, right? We had the Praetus banner a couple of weeks ago, and all of a sudden, everybody was pulling Praetus. Everybody was pulling Praetus. That didn't seem normal. Did something happen? I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But we should. We should have an idea of what the rates are. And if you want to change them, I think that's fine. Just tell us beforehand. Let people decide whether or not it makes sense to use their summons to spend their money on your game by being honest about what it is that they're purchasing. And you can be honest about RNG. You just got to give us a number. So that's my pitch. Viewers, go drop in as many suggestions as you can, upvote each other, make it clear to the developers that this is something that they need to put into the game. That's what we should be doing. As a community, we have a lot of power here. We should be exercising that. So I would encourage you all to go to the official Discord. I would encourage you to go to the suggestions area and put in a suggestion. Or if you don't want to go write it out yourself, just go upvote all the other ones. The second part of this is the 15x is not sufficient any longer. We need to change the way that this works. I think especially on guaranteed banners like Sun Wukong here, This cannot continue going forward. It is not good for the player experience. It does not inspire a lot of faith as far as spending money is concerned. So my proposal, and the best suggestion that I have heard, is a progressive rate up or a progressive guarantee, one or the other. And obviously the details could change, but if we start off at times 15 and you pull, let's say after you hit the guaranteed, you pull a legendary that is not the banner hero, all of a sudden your rates go up to 20 times or 25 times. You pull another one that is not the banner hero, they increase again. And they keep doing that until you pull the banner hero, and then they can reset back down to the 15x. I think that's 100% fine. Alternately, you could make it so that every, let's say, if you don't pull the banner hero twice in a row, then the next one is guaranteed a banner hero. Or you could have it be progressive in the sense of you get a guaranteed one at 200. If you haven't pulled another one, by the time you get to 500 summons, you get another one. If you haven't pulled another one, by the time you get to 1,000 summons, you get another one. I don't think that's unreasonable. And in fact, having specific targets for people to hit, I think might actually encourage spending. So I think Moonton, at the end of the day, this could be good for your bottom line. But that's what I think should happen. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think of these numbers? What do you think of the hit rates here? What do you think we need to see happen in this game to make these kinds of situations feel much better going forward? Sound off in the comments. Let me know. Thank you all so much for tuning into this video and listening to me kind of vent and diatribe and share my results with you. Thank you all so much for contributing. I really appreciate it. It's wonderful to see the community come together. That's one of the things that I think is coolest about making content, is that I get to interact with all of you. I get feedback from you, and this can be a collaborative effort. So thank you all so much for that. Please do thumbs up this video so that it gets as much visibility as possible. If you are interested in seeing my content going forward, please do toss me a sub as well. It is a free way that you can support my channel, and I would certainly appreciate it. But in any case, guys, bottom line, I think we can carry this information kind of forward into the next exclusive banner, and hopefully it can inform some of our decisions at that point. I will catch you all next time.